What's up, everybody, and welcome into the Backliners podcast. It's Eric. It's Agro and Barracuda as per usual, and as per usual, I cannot talk. Yeah, I was gonna do like our couple name there potentially, like Aracuda. That doesn't really work very well because there's no G's. Agricuda could be okay.
About, like you and Clumsy. I was like, you guys have a name together? That's adorable.
Yeah,
I mean, that is adorable. We might need to work on that.
Okay, well, my first thought was Clugro, and I don't really like the sound of that. That's not exactly.
It's really on your huh?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's the podcast all the time. That's always how it goes. Okay, Clugro is not good. We're gonna have to.
That's not. No, we're gonna have to source for ideas on this one.
Yeah, we'll wait.
Baragracuda has some potential.
It really
I feel like we're making the next Battle Right champion right here. That's what I hear.
Oh yes, dude. That is
Baragracuda.
The day that AJ lets us just remake Battle Right champions Clumsy is gonna be a good day for us for sure.
What?
Clumsy and I are Battle Right stands.
Oh yeah.
I was saying Scream calling me dumb. He said dumb grow.
Surely not.
Surely you wouldn't.
No, surely not. As you can tell, this is going to be another episode where you're all in an absolute mood because that is literally every episode of the Backliners. But we're super happy to be joined by my boss and senior senior game designer for Smite, Clumsy. Clumsy, thanks for hopping on, man. I'm excited for you to tell everyone none of my terrible ideas that I've had and only all of my good moments, which are, of course, there are many.
I have a terrible memory, so I only remember the good things, the things that we actually put into the game. So it's all good. Lucky for you.
Thank God. So lucky for me. We asked you guys last time about the style of podcast. I read YouTube comments against my better judgment. I got all your DMs and all that kind of stuff, but it seems like everyone was a really big fan of the slow down, but kind of go a little bit more in depth on how we got there for a lot of these. And Clumsy was a great choice for that because he was alongside. I mean, all of this is always a huge team effort, but it was really Clumsy that was leading a lot of the brainstorming early on for mid-season. So I think that he's going to bring a really good perspective on why we did what we did and all that kind of stuff. So let's get it started here, Barry. We are only on masks. We only got through glyphs in an hour. We are going to get through masks and earrings today, and that is a promise. And I won't say anything more than that. So, Barry, why don't you give the elevator for what happened with the masks, and then we can give a little detail.
Basically the masks are now starter items. They were a little like OP before, so now, starter items make them a little more bounceable, I think. I'm just talking here as a professional player.
Yeah, keep going, yeah. You just can leave out the I thinks if it's a positive statement,
Okay,
only positive,
definitely makes it easier to balance, for sure, 100%.
No doubt.
Rangda's mask, also a starter, which kind of forgot that item was in the game, to be honest. Didn't really know it existed. You saw like the occasional fighter's mask start, I think, at the beginning of Season 9 in solo, but forgot that item existed as well. Loto's mask, basically just OP for a while, on certain mage supports, and then Protector's mask, it's just a tier 1, guys. It's just a starter item,
Yeah.
Yeah.
There it is. Yeah, so basically, like Bear said, masks were very polarizing, not unexpectedly. Clumsy, you will appreciate this story. I remember, what season did masks get introduced? Was that season 5? Does anybody know?
If that's a question for me, that's like I started this conversation saying my memory is sub tier.
Right. Yeah. No, this is where chat
hits you with the historical facts.
Instantly quizzes you upon instantly. No, I'm pretty sure they were like season 5. I had not been going to balance meetings for very long. It was pretty rare up until that point, and that was when we were starting to go a little bit more often. And please no one correlate that with their enjoyment of the game if it's in a negative way. And I remember the designers at the time kind of pitched masks. I believe those were a mid-season item. when those were introduced. And they were like, hey guys, this is our plan for mid-season. What do you think? And up until that point, I had pretty, like, I had known where I stood on a lot of what we were talking about and, like, what I thought should happen and what they were, what they thought, and I was really following for the most part. I don't think I've ever felt as useless as I did in that exact moment where they were like, how do you think this is going to affect the game? And I was like, the initial masks were these, the very similar to how they are now, but there was also a third in Bumba's mask that reduced your damage to give you movement speed and all this kind of stuff. And they were like, how do you think this impacts the pro meta? And I was like, I'm going to be real with you guys. I have absolutely no clue. I have no idea what this is going to do to the game. The idea of reducing a stat that heavily to increase another stat very heavily was just like melted my brain on a way that I could, especially at that time, I hadn't been casting quite as long, so I still had a lot more player mentality. And so my mentality was always like, okay, how do I break this? Like, this is what I'm going to do when I read this. This is exactly how I'm going to, like, exploit it. All that kind of stuff. They were like, all right, how do you break this? And I was like, I don't know. And that has happened a lot of times since then. Clumsy, when
mid-season 5. I did some investigating. Mid-season 5 is when they came out.
There you go. Perfect.
Wow.
Yeah, mid-season 5.
Right on the money.
Yep, that is that checks out for my timeline. Yeah, I was just like, I have no idea. And then that has continued to happen many, many times throughout the years. And that's when I know that we've done something or that the team has done something exciting, is when I don't know the answer anymore.
Sure.
When you suggested when the boots removal discussion came up last year, I had the same feeling. For that. I was like, I don't know what it could possibly do. So yeah, that's kind of where I was. I don't know why I went on that long tangent, because this is a podcast and that's what, like,
you were asking a question there at the end, but I completely cut you off.
Was I? I don't.
You said clumsy something, and I went mid-season 5 and completely interrupted.
Do you remember
one now? Though.
Yeah, well,
just pretend you know what the question was.
Right. Yeah. Here's my question that I was totally planning on asking the whole time. What do you remember from the initial mask ideas and iterations that you guys had way back in the day? Again, you said first thing, my memory isn't great. Here's me. Remember this 4 years ago, please.
Yeah. Let me just make up a scenario that fits this context real quick. Yeah, I mean, I think at the time, right, it was a bit of a crazy idea with the masks of just having positive things and giving you negative things. Like, that was just something that I think everyone was a bit, like, internally was not necessarily confused about, was just very surprised that we were going that direction, but in a good way. Like you said, we didn't know what was going to happen, but that's not to say that's a design fault. That's something we encourage and we want to continue playing around with. And you see that with mid-season going on now, is like, we can't predict every outcome, whether that's going to be new conquest starts or jungle buff changes or whatever it might be. We can only just, like, measure and playtest to make sure that, things feel fun and things are positive and we're not making the game worse. And then, go from there. And the masks, have been changed, so maybe this analogy isn't the best, but on initial release they were exciting, they were new, they were fun, and I mean, Boomba definitely was the one that needed to go, and we were totally fine with that. But for a small period of time, I really liked running it down with the Morrigan with Boombas.
Yeah, who didn't love to?
Yeah.
If you guys didn't get a chance to zoom with Boombas, you missed out, because was it healthy for the game? Absolutely not. Was it really fun for you? Yeah, it was really, really fun. If you were the one playing Regrowth Bumba's Sobek, that was like the most fun you could have in a Smite game as far as I'm concerned. Baron, did that ever make it to scrims?
Probably. You're asking the other guy with a terrible memory on this podcast.
This is great. Okay, I love this.
I've surrounded myself with excellent talent here.
Yeah, probably a few scrims. But probably none, like, seriously. The Bumba's Morgan definitely got scrimplay, though. That was actually, like, OP. And
that was good.
Maybe, like, a tier, I think?
Yeah, Bumba's tier it sounds like it saw some play. I vaguely remember that.
And, like, I don't know if like Bumba's Kumba ever did, but I'm just remembering like all the super annoying like full movement speed characters that just harass you the entire time.
Yeah, it was not a great time. By the way, for all of our listeners, this isn't going to be great content for you, but all of our viewers are getting a Lily moment here. That's Clumsy's cat,
Yeah.
and she is like the cutest cat, except for Bear's cats as well.
Except for Bear's
cats.
cats,
Thank
exactly.
you. Yeah. All
Yep.
cats are equally cute.
That's right. That is a good
100%.
cat. There's no doubt about that. So that brings us to masks. I suppose I should get back on topic because, like I said, I promised how far we would get. Like Barrow was talking about, we just felt like masks in general were so polarizing, and they also were really difficult to utilize properly. It was very easy to build Lonos or Rangdas at the wrong time, on the wrong character with the wrong build, all that kind of stuff, and get aggressively punished for it very, very quickly. And a big thing that we talked about a lot was the power curve, and wanting to really smooth it out. I think that's something that the design team, long before I joined, has done very well with over the years, is smooth out how it feels on different item power spikes. When you think of old Smite, many, many years ago, with, early season Rod of Tahuti, where it just outright increased your magical power by a certain percentage, when you have these really heavy spike items, it requires your build before you hit your spike item to be way below power level to compensate for how far above power level you're going to be once you complete your spike item. And that just doesn't lead to very fun, dynamic gameplay, because you spend a lot of the game feeling weak and not fun, and then you spend the after parts having a lot of fun and feeling very strong, but it doesn't feel very fair because you just hit that point and now it's you kind of pass your point of interaction. So I felt like masks were one of the few items that still suffered from that old Rod of Tahuti problem that didn't scale properly and spiked too hard. And so that's why we went with this per level restriction on the starters. Like you said, I think that the ability to balance it is a huge reason why it becoming a starter makes a lot of sense. And we felt like in our discussions, Clumsy, I really, if you haven't listened to the podcast since a whole lot recently, I hope you're not like, oh my God, this is the stuff he's talking about on this podcast. Early on in our discussions for this item, and what we wanted to do with the masks, because I don't think we came in with, we want to make the masks a starter. It was just, we want to make something happen with the masks. And I think we ended up on the starter because we kind of boiled it down to, I remember the discussion being, okay, what do the masks do? What is their purpose? And it's to change the way that your character plays the game, to try and do something different that is outside your normal realm of strength. And we decided on starter items because it lets these players play that identity, to change their identity from the minute they leave the fountain and not just when they complete the item. Am I properly representing how that discussion went, Clumsy?
Yeah, pretty much. I think them being starter items was something that, we knew going in that was like a top consideration, because we just, played around with starter items recently. We wanted to see if we wanted to not necessarily expand on that system, but enhance that system. There's always outliers on starter items that we're always going to be considering. And then we also had the paired items, that we'll talk about the earrings. And one of the main mid-season goals was just like, okay, how can we take what we currently have and shift it in a way that makes sense with the patch as a whole? And the earrings were something that came up to be something, hey, like what can we also do to spice up the game? And both of those fulfilled the same kind of design space of like you mentioned, shifting your class's identity a little bit, right? Now the masks already were non-starter items previously, like the earrings are now, and it didn't make sense. Like, they didn't fit that design space where they currently were at. So making them and putting them to starter items where you can just do this gameplay shift from the beginning of the game felt a lot healthier. So yeah, that's the long expanded way of saying, yeah, you're right.
That's exactly what podcasts are for. Affirming that I'm right and doing it in a way that is fairly lengthy. That's like the whole point. I don't know. Again, I don't know if this is exactly what. I don't know how much detail I always like err on the side of caution, but I think that this is funny enough that I'm willing to risk it. I remember like a huge struggle that I've had as a designer is that in my opinion, coming up with the ideas for things isn't always that hard. Usually that's one of the easier parts of it. It's getting things to work within your constraints. I've talked about that a lot. But also like making it clear in the language that we have previously used in the game. And I really pushed hard for this stack mechanic on Lonos and on Rangdas. To do this, if you build the way we want you to, then you're going to get the benefit, because you should like I said, I think that a lot of players read these items and didn't know exactly where to build them, and you could make a very compelling argument that we have only made that more complicated in a way. But I do wish that there was a less wordy way to word these passives for the upgrades in particular. But I felt very strongly that this was the correct way to go about it. But man, my first iteration of like how this stack mechanic worked was so much more complicated and so much worse. And, you know, Clumsy and AJ really talked me off the ledge on like how complicated I could word this, including, you know, I talked about how complicated Claw's passive was and all that kind of stuff, wording wise before. But I'm like just looking at this passive and seeing how much shorter it is than my first iteration on this, like makes me feel a lot better from where it ended up. I don't know if you remember the first one I sent you, Clumsy, but it was literally like twice as long as
I remember us going back and forth on it, like just between the two of us, then with the design team, then just specifically with AJ, and just, it was like playing tug of war. It's like, all right, a little bit here, a little bit there. Oh no, is there ever going to be a way we could actually fit this into the passive, or should we just come up with something new completely, like right now? It's like, okay, no wait, we got this. We can make this happen. Let's figure it out, clean things up, and I think we got there.
Yeah, I think we did too. And I think that while this is a mathy type of description, as is Bancroft's Claw, I'm really excited about what we can do with solutions like this, because I think it lets us build in fail safes to our item passives. You know, like Bancroft's Claw needing to have a certain amount of magical power, you know, to increase the effectiveness of it, means that we can get around the abuse case of like Xing Chen with Bancroft's Claw, like in the middle of your team, dealing 1 million damage, getting a massive shield all the time. It's just going to require a little bit more reading, you know. That's all.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I didn't even know Lonos gave damage mitt and protections.
God. Barry, you had to play against it this weekend. They could have bought it against you.
You realize how many words are in this patch notes?
Yes, that's what I just spent 10 minutes talking about how many words are in this patch notes.
Exactly.
Yes.
That's a lot of words.
I know.
Bear's like, can you paraphrase what you just said for me?
Dude, ADC. Well, Clumsy, I will say that this podcast is a really good exercise for me, because I'm working with like the premier ADC brain guy, you know? Like I know if Barra gets what I'm saying, that it's good enough. That like I don't need to simplify it anymore. Not to say that Barra is stupid, for the record. He just has ADC brain.
Definitely not stupid.
Those are two different things. Stupidity and ADC brain
for a second.
Yeah.
Definitely not.
Yes.
ADC brain is a condition that you just get dealt. Like somewhere in life, you know, you start queuing some ADC and one thing leads to another. Yeah, I do have a degree. I probably shouldn't, you know, have that degree anymore. But I do. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, chat.
Look, there's a big difference between being stupid and having ADC brain. Like ADC brain is just like, I don't feel like reading that thing. Mm-hmm. I'm just gonna left click them. Being stupid is paying more than $15 a month for premium wireless service. You know, that is what's being stupid. You know, and luckily, today's episode sponsor can help us out with that. It's Mint Mobile, of course. We all know them. We all love them. What else do you need to hear about Mint Mobile is the thing that I keep asking myself, because you have all these amazing perks. You don't need to change your phone. You get to keep all of your existing contacts. You get to upgrade your wireless network because it's running on the nation's largest 5G network. What was I saying? It's my first Mint Mobile ad, guys. I've never done one of these before. Nation's largest 5G network. You get to keep all of your existing contacts. You get to keep your phone. You get to start at 2 lines for family plans, which is really big. Family plans oftentimes you have to jump through a lot of hoops. Not with Mint Mobile. It's super easy. The big thing is it's only $15 a month. I mean, we just talked about how Barra has ADC brain, but he knows that Mint Mobile is the best.
Yeah, at least Aggro told me it was. I believed him because he's a designer.
He paraphrased it for you.
Yeah. I dumbed it down for him a little bit.
Yeah, Aggro just had a lot of sentences, but I heard cheap and good and supports us and supports Ryan Reynolds and, Clumsy loves it too. And I've been obviously using it for months now. And on my most recent trip to Hi-Rez, I had my Twitch stream up the whole time, listening to the games while I was driving. So it was very nice.
And you're driving from the middle of nowhere, Georgia, as well.
Yeah, that's actually the name of it.
Yeah, middle of nowhere. I'm not trying to dox you, bro. I'm not trying to. Come on, I'm not trying to give out your town. That's not what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, that's fair. It's also, I don't think they're called towns anymore, but that's fair.
Are you not? They're towns? Of course they're called towns. What?
Did we just stop using them? Is it a new Zoomer word?
Yeah,
that's a whole meetings that you and me are on the same page. You're like, what is it called? Like towns? Towns? Yeah.
We got Lermy zooming it up all the time. Lermy's in chat. Maybe she can tell us what towns are called now, because apparently they aren't towns.
I just think towns are like an RPG term, I gotta go over to town to buy some items,
I thought it's like, yeah.
Yeah,
You're not wrong.
see? ADC brain.
Like villages, towns.
Yeah, I'm not calling it your village. Like, that's not what I'm doing, Like, what in the world is going on?
Town is a step above village, bro. Town is just a
civilized I feel like we need the ADC brain hierarchy of what's like town, villages, towns, cities, capital.
Communities,
Community isn't a town. That's just like a
show.
sense.
That is
a good show.
That is a good show.
So do you want to get to your third item, or you want to like?
No, I want to tell them where to go to get this premium wireless service, Barra. If Mint Mobile is sounding good to you, in your town where you live, because you live in one, because
or
those
your
still
village,
exist, or your village, or your community,
or city,
or your zone, as Aurora said in chat. You just get to mintmobile.com/backliners. Okay, so you get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month. And get the plan shipped straight to your door for free, no matter what town you live in. Go to mintmobile.com/backliners. That's mintmobile.com/backliners. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/backliners. Before we move on, I think that Rangda's is in a slightly different category than Lono's to me, because Lono's was seeing a good amount of play, specifically at the high level.
Is Rangda's just made because Lono's is made?
No, I don't think so. I think it's a fair question. But I think that there is a lot of space for full damage frontliners. And that there is, it being made just because Lonos is made is enough justification in my mind, because if we're letting squishy characters be tanky, why can't we let tanky characters be squishy?
Right.
At the same time, but I think that it also does have its own. It has its own set of like things that it can do. It's just Lonos doesn't have to wade through. New Lonos does not have to wade through seasons of unplayability to convince people that it's worth trying and worth playing. In this new iteration, Rangda's does, and we talked about this a lot last week. Where if you have a 7 out of 10 in your item build, and we release a new 7 out of 10, it's never getting built. Rangda's has been at like a 1 for seasons, basically. And it takes a lot of momentum in order to get that out of players' minds. We also have our fair share of problems that are getting fixed in the future. So I think that as players get more used to it, and as those get fixed, I do think that Rangda's has a lot of things going for it. I think that there's definitely space for Rangda's to be if Rangdas is the best thing you can build in SPL, that's probably cause for concern. But I think it is certainly viable enough to go out and win your ranked game, or have a lot of fun with your friends and do pretty well. That's my general feeling on it. Clumsy, were you gonna say something?
No, exactly. I mean, like John was saying, that they're mirrored, right? Both of you guys were saying in a way to different points, so good on you guys. Is that yeah, being able to turn squishy characters into tanks. That's one side of the coin. Being able to turn tanky characters squishier and therefore give them more damage is the other side of the coin. So in a way, they're mirror items. It does make sense. Did they need to exist both together? Not necessarily. Is it a fun design exercise to try out? Probably. And like Edgar was saying at the end, it's scary if Rangdas is meta versus if Lonos is meta. Turning these squishy characters into tanks, they weren't designed from the forefront to have the same kind of kits that tanky characters have, so inherently it's going to feel a lot different. Now that's really cool, right? That allows us for the class shifts. But if you just turn every tank and gave them a lot of damage, we've already seen what that can do with just normal item builds. It's already possible to a degree. It's pretty scary. If Rangdas was allowed to do that, and if it was meta, yeah, I think we've already talked about how that would be the first thing we'd want to nerf. Is we don't want it necessarily to be an item you see every game. Lonos is, I'm not saying we want to do that for Lonos, but it's a lot safer if that's the case. It's a lot safer if you see a lot more mage supports than it is to see Hercules running it down mid with Rangdas. Now would that be cool for a little while? Yeah, I think so. And is it a lot healthier potentially in other game modes? Is something we always want to consider as well. It's probably a lot more fun to try that in an arena match than it is maybe to do it in your SPL Conquest games. Now, would we like to see that still? Maybe a little bit. I think there's always a chance, right? If we're seeing some of these crazy picks, going back to like the SPL subject of just things are crazy right now. At least when I'm watching it as like a complete newbie, you guys are doing some weird stuff. And if Rangdas ends up being one of them, and if it's I can definitely see some people picking it up just to give it a try.
I was thinking maybe you can run like a nice little Sylvanage jungle Rangdas, just go ganking lanes and one shot. That sounds fun.
Dude, Sylvanas banks with Rangdas for sure. Clumsy, do you remember the one playtest we had with Rangdas? Or no, it was with fighters where the passive wasn't calculating properly, and it was...
I think I was Hercules, you were Ganesh.
Yeah, basically, instead of doing this per 0.25 per level, I think it was doing like 25 per level or something like that. Like something went horribly wrong. And I Ganesh ulted Clumsy for like literally one tick did like 1.9k or something like that. And then he Herc bolted me and literally one shot me.
I just flattened the team. That was kind of fun for a little while, but definitely not chippable.
No, not chippable. Very fun. It was like Barry, you'll appreciate this as a Halo player. This was the Guardian version of SWAT from Halo. Like everyone was just getting one tapped all the time.
I thought you were gonna say Griffball.
No, it wasn't Griffball because you could do it from like a far enough distance. Like I would like dash at Clumsy and he would have to Herc one away or else he would get one shot.
Oh yeah, I like never concentrated more in a game like that because I'm like I need to predict exactly when he's gonna blink in with the rest of his team because he's gonna just drop something on my face.
Yeah, it was absolutely awesome. I remember I Ganesh won Chris, one of our effects artists. I Ganesh won Chris for like 1,400 damage in one Ganesh one. Basically one shot him. He was playing ADC and I was like crying. I was laughing so hard because this is a joke literally for just Clumsy and Lermy, but just imagining Chris getting hit for 1,400 by a Ganesh one like filled my soul with
oh yeah, because he was on my team in that way and I remember him just going like I remember him just basically going oh. And then he got a little bit upset, like, surely that's not what you guys intentionally designed, right? But that little gasp of surprise at first was like, you don't expect that.
Yeah, you think it's just a Ganesh walking up to you, and then you're dead in 1-1. It was awesome. It was very fun.
And I also didn't know there was a bug at the time, right? Like, this was one of our first times testing it. So when Chris was like, is this intentional, which was his very next question, I go... I don't know if the numbers are off or if it's bugs, but it's pretty, like, aggro will know. We'll find out.
Yeah. Technically, yes. Yeah, I was like, wow, this is doing a lot. And then you literally one-shot me with a 2 auto, I think, or something like that. And I was like, okay, something has gone horribly wrong somewhere along the line. There have been some very good... Yeah, we should really... we should start compiling Clumsy like the oh my god, this is the most broken thing that's ever happened in playtests type of story that would be very, because I've only been on the design team for a little bit, and there have been some busted playtests that have been really fun.
I'm sure you've said it on the podcast before, but Baron Samedi pre-release, his ulti.
My god, that was, I don't know if I have told that story before.
Have you not?
I think
Well,
so.
now because now that you said it, I feel like I'm allowed to. When I first played Baron, he wasn't, so remember, release Baron was insanely OP. He was crazy on release. Imagine those stats, maybe even a little bit better, because this was a few weeks before he shipped, and instead of being slow in his ult, he was faster. He gained movement speed instead of lost movement speed.
Yeah, he was zooming.
It was absolutely insane. So I didn't get to playtest very much those days. That was when we were like, obviously everyone was in studio. We had to go to the playtest room, all that kind of stuff. That was maybe one of my first 2 playtests I had ever done. It was my first time playing a new god, I think. And I was like, I didn't, we have playtest etiquette and all that kind of stuff and some internal rules. I wasn't as well versed in those as I am now. And so I was pretty fed already. I was putting in some work. And then I remember AJ was playing Mercury jungle against me. And I remember he came up behind me at mid harpies, and I just ulted and turned, and he merc dashed around the corner, and I followed him the whole way around the corner in my ulti and caught him and stunned him and insta-killed him because it was release Baron, playtest Baron, and I was doing 1 million damage. And I hear AJ, because those are we're just in a room, we're just kind of like separated by a pillar. I hear him go, "Okay, man, I'm Mercury," and I was like, "Yeah, that's fair, dude. Like, that is fair." I was laughing like maniacally that whole playtest.
Yeah.
I think I ended with like 20 kills. I think I was literally like 20-2 or something like that, and I was like, "Pon, that is not balanced," and I just had the best smite. That was the most fun I've ever had.
It.
Like, it was so much fun. So I had one of those with one of your gods, Clumsy.
Oh no, I'm sure.
I had my first Cthulhu playtest.
Oh,
I don't remember exactly. It was how his passive worked. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I don't know if you'll remember. But he got a lot more damage mitigation than he did once he was released. And I built Oni. I just basically did the build that people are doing now with stacking damage mitigation, because I've thought it's been OP forever, but especially on Cthulhu, you like gained more mitigation when you ulted. You like tripled your passive mitigation or something like that when you ulted. I feel like I had Oni Hunters, Spirit Robe, like all the mitigation I could get. And then I remember we lost that playtest, and I could not believe it, because I was literally 1v5ing every team fight.
Yeah.
I was absolutely, it took everyone forever to kill me. And that was another, like, this is hilariously OP and so fun. I literally had like 75% damage mitigation in my Cthulhu ultimate on top of all the HP. That was a really fun playtest.
So fun for everyone else.
No, MOBAs are a zero-sum game, Barra. There's only so much fun to be had on the map at any given time.
That is true. That is very true.
It's not my fault if I had all of it.
That. Yeah.
Clumsy's sitting there, like, listening to the story. He's like, "Dude, when I play your god for the first time, I'm gonna write down every broken little thing that it has." And
no, we were just talking about like it wasn't that wildly crazy, but one of the things that I enjoyed, we were just talking about like Chernobog, the first one that I got to work on, right? And like how it went post. I was just checking up the facts. Like it did release where his ulti would trigger his passive on every basic attack. It did actually release that way. I forgot if that got through PTS. Yeah, it did. I'm looking at it right now. Yeah.
Holy cow.
Season 5, it did release. I don't know if Barra remembers it.
Wait.
But yeah, we did cut it.
Yeah, I think that was a thing for a while.
Yeah, it was actually quite a while.
Holy
I
cow,
remember
that's
that
so
patch, and
cool.
I was like, maybe Chernobog's like kind of like not bad, but I remember that patch, and I was like, that makes his ult definitely worse.
Yeah,
Imagine his ult
5.8
now,
came
by the
out
way.
5.16ish. 18, yeah. So
Wow.
for almost the entire year.
Wow. Yeah, that's crazy. Imagine
pretty good.
thinking that
Pretty good.
Chernobog ult is bad, or like imagine Chernobog having that now and like how
Yep.
insane it would be with how
I mean, if
good
we
it
had
is.
it at one point, we can just add it back, right? Like, just
True.
nerf him a
That is
little bit
true.
and give it to him back. I'm sure it'll be fine.
What
fun.
would you trade, Barra, to get Cherno passive to proc on every auto when he's after he's ulted? Let's do a
Can't
negotiation live on the air.
You can't fly globally. You just proc and you just have a stim.
Yeah.
Mana for give me like a little Apollo nerf. Give me like mana per travel distance. So like some ghosts you won't be able to fly to because you don't have enough mana.
How about whenever you reach the ghost, you're just out of mana. You're just always at zero. You're just only
yourself.
basic attacking.
That's Apollo without trans, dude.
Yep.
All right, here's
my med.
That just inspired me. These are the types of messages that Clumsy gets all the time, and the only reason I'm saying this on the podcast is because I'm so sure this idea sucks. All right, Clumsy, here's a new god thing.
All right.
An ability so powerful you instantly yourself. That's part of the cost. 100% of your available mana, but you get to go absolutely hammy salami. I don't know what exactly that means, but like you get a bunch of movement speed, basic attack damage, all that kind of stuff, but you lose all of your mana.
I feel like that, depending on how strong that is, that might actually not be, or that might be still worth the cost, right? Just pick up like a med every game, get a lot of MP5 items.
Oh, it'd be super boosted, yeah.
If it's too good, might be too strong.
Yeah, it would definitely be too good. Okay, let's talk some earrings. This was the new item tree in the mid-season. Bear, I'm taking your job. I'm sorry, but
I know, right?
I know we do have to move it a little bit. Someone's been talking too much.
Yeah,
My bad. I'm sorry, guys. I'm new to this.
Look, the tier 3 item. We haven't done a new tier 3 item tree in a while. I was really excited when we were talking about this as a possibility for mid-season. We went through a lot of different iterations for these, but Clumsy, two of these you came to me with right away and were like, hey, I had this idea, what do you think? Like, let's try and iterate and make a whole tree out of these things. Your brain cooked up Griffin Wing and Sphinx's baubles very early. How did you kind of come to those ideas, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, for sure. It's like what I mentioned a little bit earlier with masks. I think when we coming up with like the goal was to create a new item tree that was unique, that you probably haven't seen those kinds of applications in Smite. We kept comparing them to Arthurian style items, not because we wanted them to proc off of the ulti, but they're just like when we introduced the Arthurian items, they kind of fundamentally changed a lot of different ways that you go into fights, and whether that's class restrictions, whether that's the Meriden and its many different formations, or whether they end up being like meta ones like Pridwin and Erendite. Yeah, those are the two that I was thinking. Now, with these ones, I think we wanted to break the mold even more. I mean, we've been going on, Smite's getting more and more mature, whether we are designers, I don't know. But I think it's time to just spice things up, right? So what can we do on that class shifting vibe that can kind of take these different characters, take these different roles and flex them a little bit, right? There's the player base always saying, hey, we don't like class flexibility. That's not true. This is another way for us to show that we are very comfortable with just like designing new things that allow you to just play the game in a different way. So I think along that route, I was, there was a few different iterations and a few different designs of these earrings, mm-hmm. including the basic attack version ones. And I think the thing that was important as well from the beginning was that we didn't want like all of these just to be restricted to one class, right? Mm-hmm. Griffin Wing earrings, obviously, it makes a lot more sense for it to be restricted to the ranged classes, the ones that can primarily use them, like hunters and mages. But it could have originally just been for hunters, and that was definitely not the case. Like, whether it's Poseidon or Zeus one day that can use Griffin Wings, that'd be pretty sweet. Mm-hmm. But there's other ones like the basic attack mages and stuff that can. And what can we do? What can we play around with those archetypes to just fundamentally break things in a way that will be recoverable and that we can unbreak eventually, because who knows, right? It's not like these weren't scary additions. I think both of these and all the ones that we worked on, right? they took a lot of engineering and programming time to make sure that they actually worked. Yeah. And yeah, so I think that was the goal, and we had a lot of. I think I came to with like a list of several different ones. I think these were the only two that made it.
Yes,
because the other ones might have been either too boring or a little bit even too wild.
Yeah, I think I remember when you were like, okay, here are my ideas for the new item tree. We want, your call to the Arthurian items was definitely very helpful, and was something that I thought about a lot when, I was helping iterate on these, when I was, working on the ones that, on Bobble and Griffin Wing, and when we were trying to brainstorm what to do for the other two, and like all that kind of stuff. Like that, the headline that I tried to keep in mind was something that fundamentally changes the way that you play. And good Lord, is that hard to do. Like when you, like you've got 9 years of playing the game, 10 years, okay, what's something that you can't do? And it's like, well, I've spent so long just thinking of what I can do that I can't think of the things that I can't do. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, it's not an easy design space. But, I think it was a fun challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was super fun. Bobble obviously experiencing some issues right now, so a little sad about that. I mean, we all are very sad about that, but excited to see what people can do with it once it's back. That one is definitely the one that is getting the most hype right now, and understandably so. I think Bobble is definitely an item that has a lot of scary cases, but it also, I think, is certainly worth working through those scary cases and getting it to a point where it's not as scary, but it's still as exciting. I do not think that this is inherently, I've just seen so many wildly hot takes on Reddit and that kind of stuff, and I get it. This is a new scary zone that who knows what can really happen. But I think that there is a very easily attainable world where Bobble is really good in certain scenarios and really not good in other scenarios, and feels punishable and feels like a cost and all that kind of stuff, and still enables you to do all these really fun, exciting things.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like one of the design spaces that's always something that we're gonna like. The community is always going to keep an eye on, and I think that's also quite recent is cooldown reduction. Yeah. And we saw clips on on Reddit, on social, of Bobble and of I think Hebwa and just different ways of proccing this with Boombas, etc. And it just reminded me immediately. And I'm not saying this is not Bobble could be too strong. That's fine. But I don't think it's unsalvageable, and it harkened back immediately to when we introduced Malicious Deathbringer. Mm-hmm. And I saw the exact same thing, Reddit clips immediately of okay, this plus Boombas plus that, and look at me go. Like, this needs an internal cooldown, and it needs to be deleted from the game instantly. And then on live, probably could use buffs.
Yeah, that's what as many longtime fans will know, I'm a huge card game player, in particular Magic the Gathering. That's what that space likes to call a magical Christmas land, where everything goes your way. You draw the perfect sequence of cards. Your opponent has zero interaction. I can win on turn 1. And it's yep, in magical Christmas land, you can win on turn 1. But it just doesn't actually happen that well. A lot of these clips that I see of Bobble, where it's oh, I get to loop my Tsukiyomi one infinitely at 0 cooldown. I'm wouldn't that person have been dead 15 Tsukiyomi ones ago if you just if they were in a real game or you had damage, you know what I mean?
There's I don't know if it was the same Hebo one, because I don't want to call that one out, because sure. I know if I say that specifically, someone's going to go find it and be this is exactly how I'm going to prove you wrong.
Right.
But in something like that, he was doing the first ability, the water hands into basic attacks with the Boombas procs, and he's just showing how strong you can do that. And I'm if you just went a damage build and ulti, that guy would be dead.
Yeah, you can just kill that guy.
He's just gone.
Yeah, that's but then it's fun and it's new and it's exciting, and yeah, it seems really broken, but sometimes it's good to take a step back and go, is this actually what's best? It's different, but is it actually just better? And sometimes in those weird magical Christmas land scenarios. They are not.
And X amount of seasons after this, when we continue doing the Backlands podcast, you're 50. We're gonna look back and just be like, you remember when we first started with masks? And we're like, remember when we first started with the earring tree?
Yeah.
Like, what were those designers thinking?
Yeah, that's very, very possible. I would be very surprised if we didn't have any of those. That's for sure.
The answer will still be we're trying to create some stuff that's wacky and fun that people can enjoy, and if we need to balance them downwards or delete them, those are not out of the question.
It's better to have made it OP and lost than to have never introduced the new item at all. That's it's that. I think Shakespeare said that. I don't remember exactly what the quote was.
I'm pretty sure did.
Barry, as an ADC player, I remember you were part of the group of pro players that got to come in and kind of focus test midseason with us and give us feedback and get your hands on it early. What was your initial reaction when you were told of Griffin Wing?
I thought it was pretty cool. My initial reaction was kind of the same to back when like Leather, Cowl, and DT got put back into the game, where I thought that this item was going to be hard to fit in your build because it's only power and attack speed, and those items have always been hard to fit in ADC builds. And I still kind of feel that way because it doesn't actually like increase your damage. I mean, obviously it decreases your damage, but it's hard to think about in a sense of like when you're going to use this item, it's for mid to long range auto attacks, which at the end of the day are probably still 50-50 depending on how the team fight's going. Obviously it's good in those trading situations and lane 1v1s, but at that point, you're like 1 to 2 items into your build, so it's going to be hard to fit there, in my opinion. The MP5 and the attack speed are obviously like very attractive, but just for like a professional build, I don't think you can easily fit it in currently. Which, in my opinion, it's more of a for fun item than a serious item, which in my opinion is a good thing.
Yeah, I don't think anyone wants to be hit with like homing hunter autos, which this doesn't make it home. But I remember Clumsy's elevator pitch for this item being, "What if your basic attacks were just like hit scan?" And I was like, "Holy crap! Like that is wild to think about." And I think it turned out really well in that scenario. And I think that for me personally, it's the same sort of thing as Rang does. If Griffin Wing was just like the de facto best hunter item, that probably is a scary world. But if I can queue up, for those of you out there, if you have not tried Gibalanque with Griffin Wing and you're in basic attacking during your ultimate with the increased range, you have robbed yourself of a great game, because it feels really, really fun. And doing those weird, unique things. If you haven't played Olorun and had Griffin Wing earrings in your ultimate, and seen how fast projectiles can go, you've robbed yourself of a good time.
Wait, it works on Freya, right?
Yes, it does work on
Freya. Okay. Yeah, I built that in a solo game earlier, and I was like, no way I'm going crazy. It feels very good late game on Freya. Like, absolutely insane late game.
I believe it. That's like an instant ranged slow, and that seems pretty good on Freya, who doesn't need 15% extra basic attack damage. She's kind of killing you in that.
She's an overkiller. Yeah.
Right.
And then for Sphinx, or for Bobble, whatever, I think I would like to see the damage dealt and ability healing decreased a little higher. I think I have a pretty, I'm just scared of that item in general.
Sure.
But I think it's a good scare, not like a... I don't know. I agree with you guys that like putting these items in the game is good health-wise for the game because it makes you think and like makes you try to break the game even further. But as a competitor, like goes both ways. It's like how broken do you want it to be?
Of course, yeah.
Right.
But yeah, I think that item overall is a really fun item.
Yeah,
I have not seen Mana Core spikes at all, like ever.
Yeah, spikes have been having some issues again that we're looking to work through. Hopefully that'll be done soon. Spikes is an interesting one, and Fabulous Hoops. These were, I thought long and hard about, like, okay, other things like Griffin Wing and Sphinx's Bobble, like other caps that we can break, or like speeds that we can, something like increasing projectile speed, and I personally just didn't have anything that I was happy enough with to bring forward, and so that's why I kind of went off in this different direction of I got really stuck for a few days on like breaking a stat. Like, what stat can we break? What game rule can we break in order to make this in order to fill 2 more item slots in this tree? And I think it was Clumsy who gave me the very good advice of just don't think about it that way. Just change your gameplay. Like, it doesn't have to change it in the same way. We just want your gameplay to change. And that's how we kind of ended up on this. Well, we haven't done any items that actually force you to move and deploy, pickups on the ground in the middle of your team fight in order to get these bonus effects. And we've seen, how much fun the chasing after and trying to grab these cups or the flowers from the first conquest map of the year really were, and juicing the obelisk and all that kind of stuff. Like, that has been such a fun gameplay loop that I think that it makes a lot of sense to incorporate a lot of those same types of mechanics into the itemization. Both spikes and hoops are, in a way, like, they haven't seen as much play as Bobble did when it was in, and Griffin Wing. I've seen a lot more experimentation with those two. But to me, these feel a little bit scarier because they are just increasing something that you do well already to be even better. And maybe they ended up not being quite exciting enough in that regard. But especially with Manticore spikes, we just went through all these patches with tanks are doing too much damage. They have too much lethality on backliners. I was very wary of adding more lethality to tanks on backliners immediately. But it still feels like you have a lot of different boxes to check and ways to execute it, and it feels pretty play-aroundable. So I think that the direction is okay, but I just didn't want to make that number super high and all of a sudden make CC heavy characters super lethal. And for the same reason, Fae Blessed Hoops, this one was Clumsy. I don't know if you were, I think you were in that playtest. One of the first playtests in mid-season when everyone was trying out the new items. I think Fae Blessed got the most negative reaction.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about the other playtest.
No, yeah, we'll get to that one in a minute. We got the most negative reaction of Fae Blessed, and I was like, man, I don't know if this passive is going to make it. I don't know if this is good enough or exciting enough in any way. And I checked in with AJ the next day, and we were talking about midseason and all that kind of stuff, and he was like, and I told him that, by far the most negative reaction was to Fae Blessed, and no one was very excited about it. And I asked if we just bump the numbers, and they were like, no, I don't really think so. I don't think it's really working. And AJ was like, all you've got to just make the number obviously don't make it absolutely insane, but just pump the number to a point that you think feels absolutely unreasonable, and just see if they know it, see if it's feeling good then. If it isn't feeling good at an unbalanceable number, then that's probably indicative of a problem. But I've got a feeling it'll be fine. And that's what I did. And I think we play tested it at 25% of your max HP or something like that. And it was busted.
What?
It was real good. And then we did some balance from there. But this was the item that I was most unsure that people would like at all. And
yeah,
I think we got there to where it feels good. I mean, in the playtest that you guys played, the pros, one it wasn't your team, Barry, was it? That went
it was the team we played against.
Yeah, one of the teams went 5 Fae Blessed Hoops.
They
5
did.
healers. Because they thought it was really, really OP.
And they were going to win until we got onks and more anti-heal than you would ever need in a game ever.
That's right.
But
Wait,
they
you're
were
saying that healing
stomping
sucks?
us.
They lost that game, right?
Yeah, I mean,
They
the
did
same thing
lose.
happened to us.
5 healers.
Yeah.
5 healers, yep. 5 Fae Blessed Hoops, yep.
Same thing happened to us in SPL. You know, we lost the healer, so I think you guys gotta buff some healers.
You heard it here. Yep, write that down. Okay, yep. Clumsy,
Also,
we can do it.
Why?
Yeah, maybe not.
For the hoops, why do all of them have like HP 5 and MP 5 on them?
Items, there are some very rare exceptions, but generally, if an item has to have a stat, the same stats as the child item that it's building off of. So if the tier 2 has this stat, like X stat and Y stat, the tier 3 can have additional stats, but it needs X stat and Y stat. And that's why, like, the Arthurian item tree has a very inefficient tier 1 with just one stat. And that's why earrings are the same way, because it's building for 4 different types of gods, big stat spreads, and needs to have the base stat of the tier 1. So that's why they all have MP5. Most of our iterations of these, because they're so cheap,
It's like you didn't want to give like prots or like power to...
these like
power,
the other two have power. Spikes and hoops, I think that there is a world where these could have some amount of protection. But I think that because they are 2,200 gold, they are in the lowest tier of tier 3 cost in the game. I think it makes sense for them to not be particularly stat efficient, especially because their passives are so stat efficient in comparison to most like tier 3 passives. Like, yes, its base stats aren't that good, but if you consider its passives in terms of stats that it provides, like Manticore's is basically giving tanks a crazy Soul Reaver effect on them, like basing on their own max HP. If you were to put that into a power stat that, like, you know, once every 10 seconds your next ability does this amount of bonus damage, this item would have to be like 3,200 gold.
That makes sense.
So because they are difficult to execute and require you to do a lot more, that's why these are the stat spreads that they shipped with. You know, if it turns out that those aren't the right ones, then we'll change them. I don't think that they're...
they're perfect. We got this.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, he said it.
We threw the dartboard and it hit a bullseye. Easy peasy.
But yeah, these two are wild. Go ahead, Barry.
It seems like the CCR is kind of random on Manticores too, I guess, because
Sure.
it's like a frontliner based item, but it just seems... It's like... You have to make it like bad enough and good enough at the same time to where it's approachable but not OP.
Yep.
And that seems difficult. So have fun.
Yeah, you know, well, that's the
It's
job.
like a mini mask tree in a way. Yeah, it's like if you mix masks and Arthurian items, you get earrings.
Yeah, exactly. You get a little bit of something different here. Yeah, I'm excited to see once Spikes gets fixed. I think that this item has a lot of potential to do a lot of really crazy things. Like, one thing that I would definitely be trying is, what if I just went like early sovereignty, because, you know, that item is really good, an early sovereignty or Thebes, and not, if I didn't think that I was under a whole lot of threat to die, but even if I am, if you build binding into spikes, you've spent less than 5,000 gold for 2 items that give you a lot of utility and some amount of defensive stats that make you a real threat, but also it isn't just you that becomes the threat, right? Like, binding also helps your teammates, spikes also help your teammates. I think that like a really cheap 2-item spike of binding and spikes together probably ends up feeling pretty good, is my guess. You'd be low on prots, but, you know, just build them later. Forehead.
Just stack your thieves later, bro.
Well, yeah, if you can start with Thebes, you don't need Thebes every game, right? You can snag at Thebes later on.
You basically just buffed Pythax too, which makes it just approachable for, you know, some supports
Yep.
out
Pythax,
there
good.
that are on the bolts.
Yeah. Hey, you were getting Chronos Pendant, bro. Okay.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. It's like, well, if you have Chronos
Pretty
Pendant.
You know,
No, I'm
you
pretty
know,
sure-
Pythax has health on it, right? Like, you're
I'm pretty
welcome.
sure against Valks, Jake literally went Chronos Pendant into Pythax.
All right, well, I can't fix it all for you, you know, like-
Yeah, I'm just saying, you keep giving him items, and he keeps building them.
Listen, we're doing our best out here, and so is Jake, and that's all that anyone can ask for, right?
Yep.
That's
That's all I can ask for.
That's all you can ask for. That is it. All right, good job, gang. We did get through both items, and we're only like 3 minutes over time. That's not bad. You know, we've certainly done a lot worse on this show.
Well, some of us.
So, what do you mean by that?
Just-
Clarify.
it was just something I said. I didn't really have meaning behind it.
Spotlight, lights on. All right.
Understood.
ADC brain.
Okay, we've got our random question of the week. We're going back to Red Buff Bandits list. Here's the problem. I wrote down which ones we've done in a notebook, and then I left that notebook at my sister's place when I was visiting a few weeks ago. So I don't know exactly which one of these we've done. So I'm not going to let Clumsy pick a number because I'm going to have to pick one I know we haven't done quite yet.
I mean, Chad definitely knows.
Yeah, but they don't see the tweet. You know, only I'm seeing the tweet.
No, I mean, like, if you start reading
if
one,
we've done it.
they'll know.
Right. I think we only have one. No, we have two more.
Okay.
Clumsy, pick, but your numbers available are 3 and 6.
All right, 6.
6, okay. Who is your favorite Mario character, and what makes them more cool than the rest? This is a good question. I like this question.
He's short, and he's adorable, and I've loved him since Super Mario 64, and I will always love him.
So
Which one?
Toad?
Oh, okay.
Super
Okay,
easy.
Barra, if it's a game where you can choose the color that Toad has, what color are you going with?
Like default?
You're so boring, man.
Bro, I'm a default guy, man. I use
Default
recolors in
scans, I
SPL,
know.
man. Like,
Okay.
come on.
No, recolors are a swag move in the SPL. I mean,
Oh,
you're
thank
looking at in my opinion, the most iconic player skin combo is Andenster on Recolor Thor.
Oh.
Like,
Mm.
that's like the swaggiest thing in the whole game as far as I'm concerned. So, you know, that makes sense. Okay, Barra's got Toad. Clumsy, who you got?
Well, mine's split. So
That's fine.
for some weird reason in the Mario Kart games specifically, I always played Dry Bones.
Yes, dude, I love Drive.
I don't know. He was just always such a badass.
Yep.
He's just like an undead Kappa, like or Hammer
Yep.
Bro, like one of those guys.
Koopa.
And you just Koopa. There you go. But otherwise, like you got to give Luigi props too. I play him in Smash Brothers too.
Yep, Luigi's sick. I could literally do a whole podcast about Mario sports games in particular. Although I haven't played the new Superstar Strikers yet, I really need to. In order of games that I have put the most time into in my life, and I swear I think this is true. Okay.
I swear I think this is true.
Because
What a disclaimer.
I
Okay.
can't say it for
Yeah,
sure,
right.
but I feel like this
Yeah.
is actually true. Okay. In order of games that I put the most time into, it is Smite number 1. Then it is Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. Then I think it's Call of Duty Black Ops 2. And then in 4th place, with a large gap underneath that, is Mario Superstar Baseball for the GameCube.
Oh, okay.
I would bet my life savings against any human on Earth in Mario Superstar Baseball. I swear I would sweep the competitive circuit if there was one.
I feel like we
Except
need to find
against
this
my
game
boy,
and, like,
except against my boy Gar, who I would play with all the time. I love that game.
what's it called?
Mario Superstar Baseball. It's the
I'm looking it up
Mario
right now.
baseball game on GameCube. I absolutely love this game.
Oh.
Dry Bones was one of my best picks on that game, Clumsy.
Oh, yeah?
because
Okay.
You needed a good... The team construction in that game was very important, you see. But Dry Bones had a good sweet spot. Left-handed by default, though, of course, in Mario Superstar Baseball, you can choose left or right-handed as you please. And was my solid right fielder in hundreds and hundreds of games, and I mean that unironically. Barra, by the way, default Toad was my favorite Toad, but I think Red Toad was better in Mario Superstar Baseball.
I've never seen Red Toad.
I just want to do a whole show on Mario Superstar Baseball. But here's the thing. When it comes to Mario games, they aren't supposed to be balanced. No one wants them to be balanced. It's a fun party game that you don't need to take too seriously. Says the person who would just put up their life savings against anybody in Mario.
Yeah.
But I'm a freak, and I will make anything that way. Mario games are very fun, and here's what I want to do whenever I'm playing a Mario game. I want to just make the noises my character is making because they make me happy on the inside. And that's why Shy Guy is the best Mario character.
Yeah.
Because anytime anything happens to you, positive or negative, you can just go, wah, wah, and everyone's going to know that you're Shy Guy, you know? And like, that's what's just going to happen.
Shy Guy's up there, 100%.
So I love me some Shy Guy. I was a default Shy Guy player. My friend was a black Shy Guy player. But, you know, that's to be debated among the Mario Superstar Baseball experts on which... Because each color of the characters did have different stat distributions. You know, interesting depth there. But yeah, I thought default Shy Guy was better. Black Shy Guy had more power, but it was only home run power. He had nothing else.
So what you're saying is we should change the recolors in Smite to give them different base stats.
Oh, interesting, Clumsy. Some different stats for skin distribution.
Specifically not the sellable ones.
Oh, yeah, just recolors. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I can see it. This he's good, ladies and gentlemen. You're seeing it right there. He's good. But yeah, I'm going Shy Guy and Wario and Waluigi because they make the best noises. Yeah, exactly. Like a wah,
yeah, that's
just
what it is.
Wah. Like that's just good. So I want to hear those noises as often as possible. Default Mario.
Next playtest, I got you.
Yeah, thank you. Default Mario is good though. Like if I don't know what I'm feeling, if I don't know if I'm in a trolling mood or whatever, which I usually am, Mario himself is underrated. A lot of people don't want to pick him just because his name's on the game, but don't hate the player, hate the game. You know what I'm saying?
Sorry, I've been looking up like Mario Superstar Baseball tier list.
No way. Do they have one?
Yeah,
someone
there's a lot.
Really,
like,
there are a lot
more than Yeah.
There are other people that take this game very seriously as well.
Apparently.
Dude, I would absolutely slam them. There's no doubt in my mind. I think that I should do this on the podcast. Let me just read. Let me take a look at this one that Barra sent me, and then I'll. Okay, this is for second base and shortstop only. Are they on literal drugs?
That's...
What are they talking about, dude?
Barra made this himself really quickly.
Barra, did you make this, and are you on drugs? Are you kidding me?
2 years ago.
Wario pretty much required at shortstop or second base? That is psychotic. That is not who you want there.
Next to Dry Bones?
Those are the Nokis. Those are the little guys from Super Mario Sunshine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Wario, DK, and Magikoopa are all terrible shortstops and second basemen.
There's another tier list.
The best is I think Peach is the best shortstop in the game. Absolute beast. You definitely.
These images are made for ants.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, bro. The quality in this picture is so bad. I thought it was gonna like get better when I clicked on it. Nope, same size.
This is crazy. I can't believe that this is what.
Sorry to ruin your night like this.
No, that's all right. All right, here's a top tier characters only game. Bowser, obviously. Peach in the top tier is controversial, but I personally agree. I thought Peach was an excellent infielder, and her non-charge swing was like guaranteed base hits basically every time. Magikoopa wasn't our favorite, but I can understand why. Excellent fielder. Yoshi, top tier. Can pitch, can field, can hit, does it all. Wario, best pitcher, or Waluigi, best pitcher in the game. Excellent. Hammer Bro, high tier. Okay, yeah. This person knows what they're talking about a lot more. Yes, and they have PD Piranha fairly high, but they've got the big dude from Mario 64. What were they called? You know, the... I'm looking up. Mario, Sunshine...
Sunshine.
Yeah, sorry. Mario Sunshine, blue guys. What are they called?
Little tree head
Piantas.
Yeah, wouldn't have got that.
Yeah, I wouldn't have got that either. These guys stink in Mario Superstar Baseball. They are not good. He uses a tree as the bat, and the sweet spot just isn't very big. It's just not good. Now we're talking DK who punches the baseball. That guy knows what's good.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, dude, this game was awesome. I absolutely love Mario Superstar Baseball. I'm gonna go look at those. I'm gonna comment on 3-year-old Reddit posts about how they.
If you had to choose one game to be like recreated, would it be this one or Battle Right?
Probably Battle Right. I just know it.
Okay.
Battle Right just can reach a larger audience. I'm the only one who will be obsessive with Mario Superstar Baseball.
Gotcha.
I know that this is not normal what I'm doing, but I accept it about myself anyways. If I could choose one game though to be recreated in the modern era, I don't know if anyone's gonna know this. Custom Robo was this GameCube game where you basically had these like Gundams more or less that you would control, and you had a gun slot, a missile slot, a leg slot, a chassis, like all this kind of stuff, and they were very customizable, and it was so fun. And I think in the modern era where you could actually like have longer progression and do more multiplayer stuff with it because it was like GameCube, and therefore did not have like online that you could really do. It was like a single player JRPG sort of thing. It was awesome. Custom Robo would like go hard in today's gaming world. I think that it would be a very popular game. It was really, really fun. Do you guys have a game? This is what always happens, but normally it's the very beginning of the podcast. Do you guys have a game that you remember that was like really bad, but you had a lot of fun playing when you were younger?
I feel like that's like a lot of games. Well, I played the main Blizzard games growing up, like Diablo 2, StarCraft, Warcraft 3.
Those were good games.
Yeah,
for their
I'm trying to think of a bad game that I liked. I don't think I really played a lot of bad games. I was like I was like the default guy that was playing like the popular games like Halo and
really you didn't like
CODs.
We had I grew up in the Pittsburgh area, and our grocery store was called Giant Eagle, and they had a play like inside Giant Eagle you could go to Eagle Video because Eagle with a Pittsburgh accent is pronounced Eagle.
Okay.
Eagle Video was basically like a Blockbuster. And you could rent games from Eagle Video. And every time we went grocery shopping, I would rent a game for the week, and then I'd have to beat it in a week to then return it next week to get a new game. Or else I'd have to wait 2 weeks. That was obviously unacceptable. So I played a ton of absolute garbage games on like GameCube and PlayStation and Xbox. I played a lot of absolute garbage tier games. I think the worst though was Zoids. The Zoids GameCube
game
was absolute hot garbage. I really hope that one day like we don't hire someone who worked on that game and they hear this podcast and hear me talking about how bad that game was. But my God, it handled like, man, it handled like a Zamboni driver that was like a drunk Zamboni driver on a friggin' in a desert. Like it was just terrible. But Lord, was it hilariously fun that it was so bad. Like you could not, instead of turning on a dime, you turned on a county line. Like you couldn't turn around to save your life in this game. So if you missed, like, you had to spend, like, a good 15 seconds just getting back and oriented properly. But it was very fun. I just remember, like, laughing with my friends about how terrible the game was. And, I don't know, Custom Robo made me think of Zoids because, you know.
Yeah, I don't remember, like, any bad games from my childhood, like, growing up. I just remember being just a guy that played all the standard games.
A default guy, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, I played a lot of, like, bad, like, congregate games or, like, mini-clip games.
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh, yeah, those were great.
Sure.
Yeah, but I don't remember, like, actually, like, making or asking my parents to spend money on, like, a bad game.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I was playing bad games on the regular. But it only cost, I think it was, like, $1. I think it was, like, $1 for a week. And then if it took you, if it was more than a week, then you had to pay more when you returned it. But that's why I was really incentivized to only take a week to play these games, or else my mom would be like, I'm returning it. And then I would never get to finish it. Clumsy, any bad games that you remember playing?
I'm thinking like all these games, and the problem is like if they were bad, I don't think I played them very often.
That's fair.
I'm like looking back at some of these games. I'm like, I think was it Battle Tanks was one that I played on the N64.
Okay.
But I'm like looking at reviews. Yeah, N64 Battle Tanks with an X because it was edgy. Global
Right.
Assault. I'm like looking up reviews. It's like it's gotten good reviews, but damn, did I play the hell out of that game.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you guys were both PC gamers, huh? You guys weren't console gamers as much.
I played some Nintendo console games.
Yeah, I played a lot of console growing up. I think at like 16. Actually, no. Yeah, I played like 50-50. I think when I got into Smite was when I completely dropped console.
Interesting. Yeah, I was a console gamer until I got into Smite, and then I actually haven't played I have to finish Horizon Forbidden West still. I can't believe I haven't finished that. I literally forgot about it until right now. Maybe I'm gonna go play Horizon Forbidden West because we're over time on the podcast, and I feel bad that we kept Clumsy this long. So thanks everybody for listening and for watching. Make sure you check out mintmobile.com. Again, the best place to support us is to go through our sponsors. So mintmobile.com/backliners. Plus, I mean, it's good for you. You get premium wireless service for just $15 a month. What could possibly be better than that? Next week, let's plan on finishing patch notes, Barra. But because we're gonna have more patch notes like soon, we can't take this long on patch notes. But
Yeah, we really can't take this long. Like I don't know what we are gonna do, and we just talk a lot about some things in particular. Just there's a big problem that we have as podcast partners. I think we.
You know what, Barra? I hope you guys have a rough weekend this weekend in the SPL.
Oh.
And I hope we can spend all our time, going in depth, mistake by mistake that the Olympus Bolts made this week. How does that sound? Does that sound better?
That would be a short podcast for us.
Okay, we'll find out about that now, won't we? All right, thanks everyone for watching / listening. Make sure you give us a rating. Check out all the prediction shows, mintmobile.com/backliners, all that kind of good stuff. Barra, you know what to do.
Bye.
It kind of got cut out. No, you know what? We just got to roll with it, You kind of like pulled away from your mic, and it didn't really...